What is going on, guys? It's the Inside of the Boot podcast, and today we have another mock draft. A lot has moved in this draft. Giants still at number 5, but the Washington Commanders have moved up, and that's not a good sign for the New York Giants. Who knows what is going to happen? Are the Bears going to let Caleb Williams fall to the Washington Commanders? Are the Patriots going to find a way and snag Caleb Williams? A lot is gonna, happen in this draft. It's gonna be an exciting draft because it's such a loaded draft, and I'm so excited for this mock draft, of course. But last time, Michael Penix Jr. went to the Giants. I don't know if he's gonna come back after what he just did against Texas. He balled out against Texas, and that's why they're in the national championship. So we'll see how this mock draft goes. Of course, Giants offensive needs: quarterback, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive line, all that stuff. We'll look at the Bears as well. Do they keep Justin Fields? Are they going to trade him for maybe a second, third round pick? Are the Commanders going to find a way to snag Caleb Williams? If I'm the Bears, I don't see why you can't stay with Justin Fields. I mean, I know you're in a situation where it's like, kind of should draft this guy. He's a really good player, but you have Justin Fields, and the fan base wants Justin Fields. You could build around him. You could take Marvin Harrison Jr. You could trade with the Commanders if you want in real life. You could trade with New England, but of course we're not subscribed to PFF. But anyways, let's start this draft, of course, seeing how it goes. And interesting start here. Caleb Williams goes to the Bears, so they do not take Marvin Harrison Jr., but Drake May is heading to Washington. Vashanu, interesting here that they don't. I guess, when you see both of the QBs go off, maybe you take a tackle, and they do. They take Vashanu. A lot of options here for the Giants. They can go with the QB with a guy like Jayden Daniels. They can go not Brock Bowers. They're not taking Brock Bowers. They could go with a guy like Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt. Two guys that are remaining, of course. But a lot, of course, has, happened with this Giants team. Daniel Jones goes down. He needs help. He needs a wide receiver. Is Malik Neighbors that guy that Daniel Jones really needs? Does he really want that? Does he really need him? Or should the Giants go with a guy like Joe Alt to save him? Or like a guy like Rome Odunze. But it's really interesting, of course. But listen, the Giants, I think, really need a QB. I really do. If I'm the New York Giants right now and I'm in this spot seeing how the draft went, I think the biggest questions I have for this draft is Daniel Jones the future QB? Can we get away with taking a QB and not offensive line? Or can we really take a wide receiver shot and hope that he's our wide receiver 1 for the next 4 or 5 years? That's how I look at this draft. Now, Malik Neighbors is a stud. Okay, we see the numbers. Okay, absolute stud. 1,500 yards. This guy is a stud. Okay, could we take a guy like Jayden Daniels? I don't know. A lot goes into this, but for this mock draft, we will be taking Jayden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU. Giants feel that they don't feel Daniel Jones is the future. They're going to go with a stud with Jayden Daniels at number 5. And how about it? Now we have another few QBs here, of course. Bo Nix, Shadir Sanders. I don't think Shadir Sanders is going to go into the NFL draft. I think Deion Sanders already said that. We got Egbuka, Troy Vitano, Jordan Morgan. So, hey, still a lot of options here. Okay. And there's also a few more QBs. But I think, if I'm the New York Giants, we just established QB. Shocking pick. People thought we were going to go O-line. We said, screw that. We're taking the QB. Now, we're going to get our big man. It's between Troy Vitano and Jordan Morgan. Of course, these both guys are really solid. Of course, Jordan Morgan, really good. Troy Vitano, really good. 2 sacks allowed for Troy Vitano. We look at Jordan Morgan. He has allowed 2 sacks. So, really good numbers from both of these squads. Of course, Jordan Morgan has played left tackle his entire career. Troy Vitano has played a bit of, he played apparently one snap at guard. He played a bit of guard in 2022 and 2021. I've seen enough from Washington. Troy Vitano's a dog. We're taking Troy Vitano out of Washington. So, hey, so far, we've taken Jayden Daniels, and now Troy Vitano. Okay. We look at all these options. So many good options here at wide receiver. We can go with a guy like Jayden Polk. Actually, you know what? Let me see something. I want to see where... Okay, so Shadir Sanders went to the Raiders. Bo Nix goes to the Falcons. Oh, how about that? Michael Penix Jr. teaming up with, assuming Bill Belichick, assuming he doesn't get fired. Wow. Did they, I forgot they did not take Marvin Harrison Jr. Malik Neighbors drops all the way to 9. Joe Alt, really solid pick there by the Titans. Hey, Jayden Daniels is on the New York Giants. Now, I think the other thing you have to take in consideration if the Giants are going to take Jayden Daniels, the board really has to fall. Because I don't know if realistically, in real life, that Troy Vitano will be there at 37. I don't know. But if he is, great. Now, I also don't know if they're going to take Jayden Daniels at number 5. All right, pick number 47. A lot of options here, of course. You can go with the cornerback. A lot of guys here. Okay, we've taken a QB, offensive tackle, 2 big needs. I would say cornerback is honestly another big need, along with wide receiver. And, there's a lot of wide receivers. Tremaine Burton, who just got eliminated, unfortunately, by Michigan. He's here. A lot of options here, of course. But, you can go with a guy like Josh Newton. I really like Denzel Burke. I think he's a really good player. And I believe that's who we're going to be going with. It's really between him and Jayden Polk. But, Jayden Polk's also a stud. I don't know, personally, if he'll be there all the way until there. Pick 69. But if I had to take a shot between Denzel Burke and Jayden Polk, we're going to take Denzel Burke out of Ohio State. Really solid corner. So we'll see how as Jayden Polk just, as we're talking about him, just goes. He goes to the Carolina Panthers. Interesting. Jonathan Brooks heading to the Washington Commanders. Some other stuff here. So the Dolphins go with Luke Lockey. Another tight end drafted by the Lions. Carson Beck joining Stetson Bennett in Georgia. That's interesting. Xavier Worthy heading to the Jaguars. Josh Newton going to the Bucks. Burton going to Alabama. And there's our pick, Denzel Burke. So now we got a decision here. All these guys. So I'm really a big T'Vondre Sweat fan, personally. And I'm also a big Byron Murphy fan. Those two guys really stood out against Washington's O-line. And the thing is, you could also go with a guy like Blake Corum, but I don't think round 3, is a pick for Blake Corum. He's a really good player, but if I look at this, I'm looking at two guys, and I'm looking at both Texas's guys, Byron Murphy the second, and T'Vondre Sweat. You could also look at Trotter. He's a solid linebacker, but we have Okereke and we have McFadden. QB obviously out of the picture. McMillan had a solid game for Washington. Pretty decent stats. Kind of Polk and Odunze took over, so I mean that's why he didn't probably get much targets. We can go guard with Christian Haynes. He allowed 1 sack on 802 snaps. That is insane. They have him at right guard. That's where he mostly played. Listen, we can go guard. We haven't really changed things up enough. But yeah, I mean, guard is definitely in question here. Because right now your guards are Justin Pugh and whoever plays right guard, whoever's healthy. So, I mean, Christian Haynes out of Connecticut, not a bad option either. But I think for the sake of it, I think they address right guard and left guard in free agency. And they don't take a guy like Christian Haynes. And I really do think Byron Murphy is a tad... I think Murphy's better than Sweat, in my opinion. And I believe this is just how I view it. I think both are really good players. I watched a lot of their tape and a lot of the game against Washington, and they're both always in there. Like, they are both always getting to the running back, really doing a good job. I just think Murphy played a better game, and that's kind of what I'm going off of. And I think that's just the way I view this pick. But before we make the pick, I just want to look at some other stuff, other things. So the Niners go Jackson Powers Johnson, and all the just making sure I didn't miss any big time players. Could even go Kingsley if you wanted to. Definitely didn't have his greatest year, but if you want to go tackle. But I think we're going to make the pick here, and it's going to be Byron Murphy out of Texas. That's going to be the pick. Listeners, this was a different type of draft. The Giants changed things up. Okay, well, let's take a look at the draft, and we'll see how it is. So, Jayden Daniels, number 5 overall. Giants feel they need a QB, and they feel like Jayden Daniels is going to be the guy. And then they go with the guy, Troy Vitano. Beast of a guy on the line. Going with the guy like Denzel Burke to help out Deonte Banks. And then Byron Murphy to wrap things up. Let me know what you guys think of this draft. Let me know if you agree with taking a QB at number 5. We've taken our line the last few times. Wanted to switch it up a bit. So we took Jayden Daniels. Listen, I don't really know what it is with Daniel Jones. He was supposed to be in a more complex offense, and they couldn't do it with him. So I don't know what makes you think that he's going to be necessarily better next year. But I still believe in Daniel Jones. You know, you could draft Jayden Daniels if you want to. And he could sit a year, and then you cut Daniel Jones at the end of the year, save a lot of money, because his contract was basically a 2-year contract. And then you cut him at the end of the year. Or you don't draft Jayden Daniels, and he probably goes to the Raiders, Vikings, somewhere on that path. And, you know, you go with a guy like Joe Alt or Vashanu. Would not hate that decision. Then you probably don't take Troy Vitano in the second round. You probably take someone else, maybe a wide receiver. I do like the Denzel Burke pick. I think he's a solid player at Ohio State. And Byron Murphy, the second, really solid run stopper. Him and Dexter Lawrence would be an absolute deadly pairing, because Dexter Lawrence, in my opinion, is probably the best defensive tackle in the league. Honestly, he is so good, and he makes such an impact. And I hope he's a Pro Bowler, even though I don't really take the Pro Bowl very seriously. I hope he does make it. But yeah, definitely, I enjoy doing these mock drafts. This is another one in the books, and you know, we're gonna definitely be doing more as the season heads out. Of course, the Giants taking on the Eagles next week, and I appreciate the support. Let's get to 100 subscribers very soon. That would really make me happy. But you know, if you guys have any content suggestions, hit us up on Instagram at the Inside the Boot Podcast, at Twitter at the Inside the Boot Podcast, or on TikTok. Inside the Boot Podcast is gonna be, uploading some stuff on all of those social media platforms. But anyways, guys, that's enough for me talking. This is another mock draft in the books. I appreciate you guys once again. Jayden Daniels going to the Giants. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.